made. You've seen them, I've seen them, and they're certainly there. But George W. Bush today has what Adolf Hitler only dreamed of having. George W. Bush has the populace behind him. He has the media control. He has so much more media control, so much more media savvy than Adolf Hitler ever dreamed of. Plus, you've also got the surveillance techniques. You've got the DNA for the eugenics. It's all in place today for the Nazization of America.
Yes, we are witnessing the Nazification of America, and we have been for many, many years. In one way of looking at it, we lost World War II. We took over the Nazi intelligence network of Reinhard Gehlen, and the Nazi scientists, the slave masters of Nordhausen, became the architects of our own space program. And we continue to see that all of the time. And these patterns of terrorist events are mere reflections of the Reichstag fire. And this whole kind of manipulation of power is very much patterned after the fascism and Nazism that we supposedly fought against in World War II.
My book, Painful Questions, provides evidence that both World Trade Center towers and Building 7 were demolished with explosives that were placed in the building before the attack. These three buildings were imploded. They were not brought down by fire or airplanes.
Eric, I'm taking a look at a picture of the explosion at the World Trade Center here, and I see debris coming out from the building, shot out from the building, as if there was a massive explosion internally. Is this, in fact, what happened?
Well, this is what these photographs are showing. Dust is flying out of the building horizontally in an area of the building that is still structurally sound. It is only after this dust and debris fly out that that portion of the building starts to collapse. It's not the other way around, in which the building collapses and then dust comes out during the collapse. This dust is coming out first. Here's one photograph that shows pieces of the building being thrown out horizontally hundreds of feet away from the building. These buildings are not simply falling down. They're blowing outward horizontally, as if high pressure is inside these buildings, such as from explosives.
Well, Eric, we saw in some of the videos a burst coming from one floor and then the next and the next and the next and the next, and it was blowing materials of steel and metal out from the building as if it was systematically set up as one would destroy a building like the Sands Hotel. It would indicate that it is not only imploded, but that all three buildings, Building 7, the North and South Towers, were imploded. Am I wrong, or is this not the evidence?
No, you're correct. And in fact, let me show you one of the pictures that shows that. This photograph is an example of what I'm talking about. It shows a line of dust flying out of the building horizontally, and it goes out in perfect symmetry, one floor at a time. And notice that this portion of the building is structurally intact.
We're told that the debris was picked up and shipped overseas to communist China, where you would never ever see it or never be able to use the evidence in a trial against administrators of this government. Is that true?
I heard the same thing, that it was sold as scrap metal at a very low price to foreign nations. Now, this is a violation of the law. Remember when the space shuttle collapsed and fell down all over the states of Texas and others? You were fined and arrested if you even touched that debris. It's against the law to pick up that debris from the World Trade Center. That was evidence in what happened. And our government sold it and to foreign nations.
What happened to the crime scene? They took it away. They shipped it to New Jersey. And then the steel, because if you investigate steel, you can see if there's anything, other components, or what caused the meltdown. The steel has been shipped over to China. It's gone.
The FBI furnished the explosives in the 1993 World Trade Center attack, so how can we ignore them in this 2001 attack?
Now you'll see the evidence of the federal government targeting the World Trade Center twice. October 28th, 93, and October 31st, 1993, New York Times, as well as the December 15th Chicago Tribune. The federal government was actually caught on tape by their informants, ordering them to let the bombing go forward, to cook the bomb, to give the terrorists the detonators, to create yet another crisis, this time to usher in a police state and a war upon the American people. Unlike the Northwoods plan, the FBI actually carried out the attack on the World Trade Center in 1993. They actually hired a retired 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer, Ahmad Salam, and paid him $1 million and gave him real explosives, a detonator, and told him to build a bomb and to give it to the foolish people that he was controlling to allow them to attack the World Trade Center complex. There was only one problem with their plan. Mr. Salam was not as ruthless and sociopathic as the FBI and their globalist controllers. He began to get very concerned right before and, of course, after the attack, saying, "Why are you giving me real explosives if this is just a sting operation?" When they told him to go ahead and let the attack go forward, he secretly recorded the head of the FBI in New York ordering him to let the bombing take place. It's very important to understand that all the evidence you just saw is documented, 110%. It is part of the public record. The FBI admits it, but the media wrote a few stories about it. There were a couple of nightly newscasts. It was never heard of again. But unlike Pearl Harbor, where the government allowed the Japanese to attack as a pretext for war, the federal government financed and controlled this attack on the World Trade Center to create a system of anti-terrorism, to sic a homeland security system on the American people. There was only one problem. The drivers of the truck didn't park it up against the main support column as they had been ordered to do by Mr. Salam and the FBI. No, my friends, they parked it about a dozen feet away, so it didn't bring down the building. And in consequence, they didn't get the massive death toll they needed to create the martial law system they were hell-bent on implementing against our constitutional republic and the American people. To the American people's horror, the feds finished the job on September 11, 2001.
Has the military been planning an Operation Northwoods similar to what happened in 1962, presented to JFK, and is this the result of what they've been planning all along?
9/11 wasn't the first attack on the United States by agents of the United States.
General Lyman Lemnitzer had a plan to create terrorism in this country to be done by U.S. forces, maybe the CIA, maybe some special army forces.
The Northwoods plan, a plan concocted by the Pentagon in the 60s, designed to, well, blow up, build the American people, not terrorists. They're using Homeland Security and blaming it directly on 9/11, almost a carbon copy of the Operation Northwoods scenario envisioned by the Pentagon, in order to accomplish the same ends. We went to war against a foreign country. We went to war against a country that wasn't a danger to us, that didn't have weapons of mass destruction.
When I was a boy, Alcatraz, or the Rock as they call it, used to house the criminals to keep them from violating the rights of society. Now, society is controlled by a group of criminals from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. How has things changed? A complete reversal from the Constitution, from the Declaration of Independence, to the Declaration of Interdependence, from the United States to the United Nations. Once we had sovereignty, now we have insanity. When I think of the criminals that were once housed in Alcatraz, it almost makes you laugh. There are more criminals in 1 square mile of Washington, D.C. than were ever housed on the Rock.
So it's the New World Order all over.